Good morning, students. Today's topic is which we are going to discuss is system approach. Now, what do you mean by system approach? System approach is a problem solving method of analyzing the educational process and making it effective. Now, we are focusing on what to make the educational process effective. It should be qualitative. Now, what are the learning objectives? The students will be able to know the concept of system approach. After completing this topic, you will able to know or you will able to define that this is system approach. The students will be able to know the meaning of system approach. Yeah, this is the meaning of system approach. They can define the meaning of system approach in their own language. The student will be able to know the importance of system approach, why system approach is necessary, as we are saying that system approach is needed for solving the problems and improving the education system. That's why system approach is important. The student will be able to know the stages of system approach. What are the different stages of system approach when we are implementing system approach in our education system? The student will be able to know the role of teaching in implementing the system approach. Now, what should be the role of teacher while he is going to implement the system approach? Now, education is defined the system approach as an approach which aims at finding the most efficient, the best method to teach the students and economically cost effective methods. Now, what do you mean by economically cost effective methods? Those methods which do not need much money for solving educational problems. Why they are using these type of methods? So that the problems of education can be solved. Now, what they are saying scientifically. Now, what do you mean by scientifically? Scientifically is a systematic manner. When we are saying that we are using a scientific process, we are saying by scientific process that we define or ask a question, a problem arises in front of us, then we will do research on it, and after doing a background research on it, we frame some hypothesis, and after that we test hypothesis which we have framed. We test those hypotheses on the basis of doing some experiments, and after doing that experiments, we analyze the data which we have collected through the experiment and draw some conclusions. The system approach provides a framework for all the factors that influences the solution of educational programs or the achievement of objectives. Now, what are all the factors? All the factors are the curriculum content, instructional materials, and evaluation. All these factors are influencing the solution of educational problems or the achievement of objectives. In the teaching learning process, the system approach taken into consideration all available resources. Now, what will be the all available resources? It can be a text, it can be a video, it can be a PPT or other material that assist students to meet the expectations for learning. Content, learning experiences, the experiences which they are having during the teaching learning process. Content is the curriculum or the topic, methods which the teachers are using to deliver the content, and media to achieve the given set of learning objectives. Thus, the system approach focuses on the students and the performance required by him. Now, the system approach focuses on what? Students. Means the main or the important thing in system approach is the student. Now, definition given by Neil. System approach to education is defined as a particular method of exploration. Now, what is exploration? Exploration means to identify, to examine, to find effective ways of talking about, designing, and organizing learning situations in practice. Means how can we design, how can we organize different learning situations in practice when we are going to teach in the classroom. Now, stages to use the system approach. What are the different stages? Now, first one is specifying the output. Second one is preparation of evaluation procedures. Third one is identifying input specification. Fourth is designing the process alternatives. Fifth one is selection of the best alternative. Sixth, planning for learning experiences. Next is tryout. And the last one is revision and implementation of the system. Now we will define each and every stages in detail. Now, specifying the objectives. Now, what do you mean by specifying? Means clearly stating the output. What type of output I want after teaching that particular topic. Now, as a teacher, I have to clearly state it that this will be the output. Consider a micro level example. Now, what is the micro level? When we are looking at a thing or a perspective at a larger level. Example, implementation of new curriculum for grade 9. When we are talking how to implement a new curriculum for the class 9. The broad and specific objectives of the curriculum becomes the expected outcomes. Now, broad and specific objectives of the curriculum become the stated expected outcomes. What it means that these objectives should be I will achieve as a teacher after completing this particular curriculum. These may have been expressed in terms of cognitive, effective, as well as psychomotor development. When we are talking about the objectives which I will try to complete after the completion of the curriculum, these can be cognitive, these can be effective, as well as psychomotor development. Now, what is cognitive? It is related to the knowledge. Effective, when we are related someone with feelings, as well as psychomotor, when we are learning something by doing, means learning by doing. While formulating these objectives, means when we are formulating objectives on the basis of all these domains, the cognitive, effective, and psychomotor, the learner entry behavior has to be taken into consideration. Now, what is entry behavior? Entry behavior means the prerequisite skills or knowledge which a child or a student must have when I am going to teach another topic to him. Means entry behavior is the prerequisite skills, knowledge of some subject to the student. The specific instructional objectives are stated in terms of observable and measurable terminal behaviors. Now, three things are there. First is objective. And what type of objective? Instructional objective. Now, instructional objective is a statement that will describe what will be the learner will able to do after completing my instruction. So, for example, I say switch on the fan. Now, what is that? I am giving you an instruction, and what you will do? You will switch on the fan. Means what the learner will able to do after listening or after completing my instruction are stated in terms of observable and measurable. Now, observable, which can be observed, measurable, that can be measured. Now, what will be the terminal behavior? Now, the behavior which can be described what the learner should be able to do to demonstrate what he has learned. For example, I will give you an assignment related to the different stages of system approach. Now, if you will able to complete that assignment, it means that you have learned that concept. So, terminal behavior, what it defines, describe what the learner should be able to do in order to demonstrate that these objectives has been fulfilled, that we have achieved as a teacher these objectives. These terminal behaviors which are expected from the students after going through the instructional system are the output specifications of the system. These output specifications help design the instructional system of course implementation of grade 9th. Now, what are these instructional systems? Now, instructional systems are the planned organized and the planned organized use of all available resources that can be used by the teacher to make the teaching learning process effective and efficient for the students. Then the whole process of system development gets geared to achieve these objectives. Now all these systems can be the methods, the teaching learning process. All these systems get geared to achieve these objectives. Now what are the objectives? The effective, the cognitive, and the psychomotor. The first step in the development of instructional system, therefore, is to specify the expected terminal behavior. Means we have to specify, means state clearly that these are the terminal behavior, that these objectives I want to achieve after completing this topic. Now, the second one is preparation of evaluation process. How does a system designer know that the learner have achieved the expected terminal behavior after going through the instructional process? Now, how I will able to judge whether I as learner, whether my learner are able to achieve the expected terminal behaviors or not? Obviously, some evaluation process has to be developed for this. How can I know? I can know when I will take a evaluation. I will adopt a evaluation process. On the basis of that evaluation procedure only, I will able to say whether my objectives are achieved or not. The performance of the student is tested at the end of the process. Now, what they are saying that after completing my course, I take a test and I will come to know whether my objectives has been achieved or not. For this purpose, the system designer has to prepare test items representing the expected terminal behavior. Now, after the completion of the test, as a system designer, I will prepare some test items. Now, the test items can be an MCQs, objective questions, very short questions, or essay type questions. Any test items can be constructed by the system designer. And what will be the basis of constructed these test items? These test items will help me to know whether you have learned these topics or not. All these items in the test form the criteria for understanding whether all expected terminal behavior have been achieved or not. Now, what do you mean by that? I will able to know these are my objectives, whether I am able to fulfill or achieve these objectives or not. If my learner will able to give me the answers, then I will say definitely they have able to learn that topic and my objectives are fulfilled. The test can be called a criterion test. Now, what do you mean by a criterion test? A criterion test is that type of a test where we compare a student knowledge and skills against a standard cut score. That this is the standard cut score, and if the students are able to achieve that uh, score, the cut score, then we will say that our objectives has been achieved. If that test cut score is not achieved by the students, then as a teacher I will say that I am not able to achieve my objectives. Now, results on the criterion test provide feedback to the system designer at the end of the process. Now, what type of results can I get? Whether my students will able to achieve the objectives, or the second one can be I am not able to achieve my objectives. Now, both these conditions will provide feedback to the system designer at the end of the process, means after completing my course. As an instructional system designer, you should be interested in getting feedback. Now, what is that? I should be interested what type of feedback will I get after the results, whether the student will able to uh, achieve the objectives, or whether I as a teacher will not successful in achieving my objectives, not only at the end of the instructional process but also during the process. Now, what they are saying, not at the end, At the end, it can be your end semester exam. But also during the process means I can take some weekly tests, I can give you some assignments, and on the basis of your performances on the assignments and weekly tests, I will able to get some feedback. For this, one has to develop tests with items representing behaviors expected at various stages of the process. What type of expected behavior you want to change in your learners? These tests are called formative tests. Now, what do you mean by the formative test? The test after a unit or a topic, I formulate, I construct a test, apply on you after a topic or a unit, it calls a formative test. For example, after completing my topic, I will ask some MCQs related to the topic which I have learned, and I will able to know whether you have learned that topic or not. Results on formative tests provide feedback. Now, the results which I will get from the formative test will provide me the feedback. What type of feedback can be? That I have to improve the teaching learning method. I have to change my techniques. Or might be I will get that all the learners have scored so much that I achieved all my objectives, and this type of feedback will give me a positive reinforcement. To the system designer, even during the process, I will ask some questions to you and you will give me the answer. I will able to know, yes, my teaching learning process is going smooth way. Hence, desired changes can be made in the process to make it more effective and efficient. For example, during the teaching learning process, I ask you some questions and you as a students are not able to respond it. Then what I have to do, I have to change my teaching techniques, I have to change my method. Why I am changing my techniques and methods? So that I can make my teaching well, effective and efficient. Annual school examination can be termed terminal test. Now, what they are at the end of the curriculum, which test if we are taking, we are calling as terminal test. Whereas the unit and tests can be turned as formative tests. Those who are completing those tests which we are taking after completing the units are called the formative tests, and tests which we upon the students after the curriculum, after the ending of the curriculum, are called the terminal test. Identifying input specification. Now we have to specifically clearly state it that these are the input defining. In order to achieve the specified outcomes, that these changes I want to make in my student. The students are expected to have certain entry behavior. Now we have just learned about the entry behavior, the prerequisite knowledge or skills before learning a new topic. For example, I am going to teach you multiplication. The prerequisite knowledge will be the knowledge which the student have for addition and subtraction. The system designer may like to specify the same. Now, I have to clearly state it that these are the prerequisite knowledge and skills. The same, and prepare a test to ensure that the student possesses the necessary input specification. The same can be stated in terms of knowledge, skills, as well as attitude. What is the knowledge, what is the skills, and what are the attitudes of the learner? Designing the process alternatives. Now, alternatives, how much options are available to a system designer. Once the expected objective, terminal behavior, means that objective, that type of behavior I want in my learner, have been specified. I clearly stated that after completing this topic, I want that type of change or in the behavior of my learner. And the required entry behavior, in short, entry behavior, that these are the prerequisite knowledge and skills of the learner. The system designer can plan the process necessary for achieving those objectives. Now, what they are saying, that as a designer, I know that these are the pre-knowledge and skills of the learner, and after the completion of this topic, I want these type of changes in my learner. And when the system designer have knowledge of both the things, then he can plan the process accordingly, so that he can able to achieve his objectives. In the case of an instructional system, now instructional system, what I told you, a planned way where we are using all type of resources. These resources can be the audio aids, the video text, the PPT, to make the learning effective. The teacher designer of a system should think of a variety of teaching learning methods and media which can be employed for achieving the desired objectives. Now, what they are saying, that the teacher can employ various type of methods so that he can achieve the desired objectives in the students. The selection of methods and media may vary accordingly. Now, what can be the method? A lecture method can be there, inductive deductive method, means there are so many methods available, and media. So I can teach my lesson through the PowerPoint presentation, or I can use of OHP, or I can use a textbook to deliver my lecture. The selection of methods, which method should I select, and media, which teaching media should I select, may vary according to the type of objective. What type of objectives I want to achieve, on the basis of that objective, I will decide that this is a particular method that I will use and that type of media I will use. For our objectives is that student will be able to state reason for the spread of a disease. For example, we are taking that my objective is that the student will able to state reasons for the spread of a disease. Why? What are the reasons behind spreading of a disease? Now, which method I can use? A set of lectures means I can deliver some lectures on this topic, and some supplementary charts could be used. And as a media, what can I use? I can use some charts could be used and the terminal objectives achieved. Now, when I am using a lecture method and charts, what will happen? I will able to achieve my objectives. But if the objective is that the student will be able to classify the animals on the basis of their characteristics. Now, what is that? They have to make a classification of animals on the basis of their characteristics. The use of lecturer alone will not be adequate. Now, what is that they are saying? That only the lecture method will not be adequate. We need something more to make the student understand the different characteristics of the animals, and on the basis of their understanding they will be able to classify them on the various categories. The teacher needs to show actual specimens, use questioning techniques and group assignments, etc. for this objective. Now, what was my objective? That the students will able to classify the animals on the basis of their characteristics. When I want to achieve my this objective, what I have to do? I can't strict only to lecture methods. I have to use specimens, use questioning techniques, and give assignments to the students. Then only I will able to achieve my objective. Thus, if the educational objective differ, the method and media used for them will also differ. Now it's clear. Then first I have to define what are my objectives, and on the basis of those objectives, I will select that I will use this method and that media will be used by me. But even for achieving one set of objectives, there may be a variety of methods. A variety of methods can be used, and media. Example, in order to develop observation skills in the learner. What was the purpose? That I want to develop observation skills in the learner. You may arrange a visit to a botanical garden or an exhibition of variety of plants. Now, when they will see variety of various plants, then their observation skill will increase. Available in the neighborhood, or even use small groups techniques given specific specimens to different groups of students. This showed that various process alternatives can be identified and used depending upon the objectives. Now, what they are saying, that there are various process of alternatives are available. We have to identify them and use accordingly to our objective. Now, the next one is selection of the best alternative. How we have to select that this will be the best alternative for teaching. After preparing various alternative process, the best among them or the most suitable alternative should be selected. There are various alternative process, and now as a teacher, I have to select the best alternative available for my student. Criteria for selection of the same can be as follows. Now, what is the criteria of selecting the best alternative? The first one is nature of the subject discipline. Now, which subject I am going to teach? According to the discipline and its characteristics, I have to select that this method will be best so that my objectives can be achieved. Now, every discipline has its own characteristics and methods of study. Example, the natural science such as physics, chemistry, biology, etc. demand experimentation. When a teacher is teaching these type of subjects, then the teacher must use experiments, demonstration, field visits, and observations to be used as an instructional techniques to achieve the desired objectives. Whereas objectives in discipline such as history can be achieved through lecture. Now, what they are saying, when a teacher is teaching natural sciences, then a teacher has to use experiments, demonstration method, field trips, and observation. When a teacher is teaching subjects like history, then the objectives can be achieved when the teacher will use lecture method, narration, debates, group discussion, etc. The methods and appropriate media have therefore to be selected, keeping in mind the nature of the discipline and the topic to be taught. Which type of topic which I am going to teach today, and what is the nature of my discipline. Both these things will affect what? The selection of the method and media. Availability of resources. For using any particular set of method and media, certain infrastructure facilities such as space, electricity, seating arrangement, furniture, etc. are needed. And what they are saying, I have selected that I will teach today with you with an OHP. But what is that? That particular resource is not available. Then what they are saying, that we have to select a method and a media depending on availability, whether that media or method is available or not. One can select a process keeping in mind the availability of necessary resources. Availability of time, how much time is allotted to me? Financial resources, how much amount of money can I spend, are the other two criteria which determine the selection of the most suitable process. Size of the class. Another thing is that what is the size of my class? Generally, the class size range from 40 to 80. If there are 80 students in the class, using a 21-inch TV is not advisable. They are saying when the class size is so big and there are 80 number of students, we will not use a TV of 21 inches because it will be not advisable. Why? Because we have to select the media on the basis of the size of the class. Media such as slides, OHP transparencies can be used very effectively in such a situation. One may use question answer session or a panel discussion for a large class. When we are saying that we are using that question answer session or the panel discussion can be a best method to teach a number of students in a class, when a class having a large number of students. For a large class, whereas small group discussion can be used for a smaller class. And when we are saying that the number of the students are less, then the group discussion can be a better or the effective media. And the size of the group of the students in a class also determine the selection of suitable techniques and alternatives available. Human resources. Most of the method and media certain type of skills from their users. The teacher in this case, if the teacher lacks the necessary skill of using an OHP, means the teacher does not know how to operate an OHP overhead projector, or the skill of conducting group discussion, and he does not know how to conduct a group discussion, she may hesitate to select and use these techniques. Then what will happen? I don't know how to operate an OHP. Then as a teacher, I will hesitate to use OHP to teach a particular topic. And in such cases, she may not succeed at achieving the objectives. Now, what will happen if I do not know how to use an OHP? Then I will not able to succeed to achieve that particular objective. In order to use team teaching, when I had selected that I will teach that particular topic through team teaching, the teacher must possess different set of skills and also must get cooperation from the colleagues. When I am saying team teaching, I have to include 4 or 5 teachers in teaching that particular topic. But if I will not get the cooperation of my colleagues, then the team teaching cannot be successful. Teachers trained in various skills are the resources for an instructional system. The availability of such resources is also very important determinant of the selection of best alternative. Planning for learning exercises. Once a suitable alternative have been selected, that I have selected that I will teach with this method and I will use that medium. The next step is to prepare the material needed. Now, what is that? The next step is to I have to prepare that material for providing appropriate learning experiences. For example, one may decide to use the lecture method supplemented by other media like chalkboard, charts, models, and techniques such as questioning. For example, I have decided that I will teach the student this particular topic with the lecture method, and the other media or the teaching aids that I will use during the teaching process will be the chalkboard, chart, models, and the technique which I will use was questioning skill. Once then has to prepare, select the chart. I have to prepare the chart needed for giving the intended message. Prepare a model. I have to prepare a model or a chalkboard summary. Point to be written on the chalkboard means I have to select that these are the main points and I have to write these main points on the chalkboard, and also list questions to be asked. I will prepare some questions that I will ask these particular questions from the students during the teaching learning process. These activities then can be logically arranged in order to facilitate effective learning. Tryout. Now we have to decide upon the components of the system and prepare the necessary material. But how do we know that it would work? Guess how it would work. After the development of the instructional system that I have planned each and everything to make my teaching learning process effective, one should find out whether the system is effective in terms of attainment of objectives or not. I have to find out whether the system which I have planned, which I have organized, is effective or not in terms of attainment of objectives. For this, we have to test the system. I have to take a test of the system on a small group of students in a controlled situation. After the tryout on a small sample. Now, small sample can be students with 20 to 30 students. It can be a small sample, and its subsequent revisions, the system should be tried out on a large sample. When I got the results from the small sample, then only I can apply that things on a large sample. We are now taking the instructional system for the laboratory situation to the field. Now what we are doing, we are taking that system, instructional system, from the lab to the field. This is known as field tryout. It is possible that a few mistakes may be identified through the tryout. These mistakes or the weakness of instructional system have to be rectified, and thus the system has to be improved. What are the suggestions? What are the feedback that I will get from that? I have to rectify and has to be improved. Revision and implementation of the test. The task of revision takes us to the final stage of an instructional system. But this does not mean that the system is now perfect. It is does not, we cannot say that this particular system is now perfect. As far as far the developmental process is concerned, as far the developmental process is concerned means we are focusing on the developmental process. The revision based on the field trips lead to the final form of the instructional systems. However, during and after every implementation of the system, now what they are saying, as a implementation system has been implemented, we are during means on the process of implementing, and after implementation means that is not that not we cannot say that after implementing a system I will do this. No, after every implementation system we collect some information. Some information will be generated after implementing every system. Some information about its functioning, how it's function. This help us modify and improve the instructional system. Revision is thus a continuous process. We are what we are saying, that revision is a continuous process because the implementation of the system is a continuous process. Now, purpose and use of system approach in education. What are the purposes and uses of system approach in education? The first is improvement in instructional system. Now, what we are saying, that we have planned, we have organized, we have decided that all these available resources are available. Now, what we have to do? We have to we can improve that planning, we can improve the use of all resources. System approach can effectively improve the instructional system, definitely, because by system approach we are able to solve the problems related to the education system and to make it qualitative and effective. In instructional system, certain interactive and in instructional systems, certain interactive and Yogesh, I already told you to go and attempt the quiz. Interrelated elements are operating in a systematic way to achieve stipulated instructional objectives, that these objectives can be achieved. Inputs are teacher, these are the teachers, students, curriculum, content, and instructional material. Process, it includes instructional method, strategies, and approaches which can be used. Output are attainments of instructional objectives, that these are the instructional objectives which I want to achieve. Improvement in co-curricular activities means improvement can be done in the co-curricular activities which we are undertaking. It helps in bringing improvement in the organization of curriculum activities, means the system approach will help in improving to organize the curriculum, means organization of curriculum can be improved when the teacher is applying system approach in education. And other educational aspect for maximum development of personality, and so the maximum development of personality of an individual or a learner can be made. Utilization of resources. Now, what is that utilization of resources? It can be human resources and non-human resources. How to utilize the maximum resources and in a very effective manner is related to the utilization of resources. Utilization of human and non-human material. Now, non-human material will be your table, chair, chalkboards. All these are related to the non-human material, and the human resources will be related to the teacher, student. These are the human resources. can utilize more effectively, can be used more effectively after the teacher is using system approach in education. The school personnel, by controlling, coordinating and evaluating continuously the activities of all the personnel, means when we are continuously, if continuously focusing on what, how to coordinate something, how to evaluate something, and these type of activities are on the continuous basis, then these type of activities are will able to lead us to the proper utilization of resources. Increase control and coordination. Coordination among different parts is exercised as a result of the achievement of specific objectives at a level of operation. Improvements in school affairs. System approach may help in managing and improving the school affair by bringing efficiency in the school management and administration. Now, system approach will also help in improving the efficiencies of the school management and administration. They can work there, they can manage, they can administer what the process in a better manner. Improvement in planning. It helps in systematic educational planning in terms of long range goals. What are the long range goals which we want to achieve? We have to plan accordingly. Specific short range objective. What are the short term objectives which we want to achieve? Improvement in evaluation. It helps in bringing improvement in the examination and evaluation system. Improvement in guidance. System approach in education can help in organizing and improving the guidance services of the schools. Means we can improve the guidance services which are given to the students on the basis of system approach. Improvement in non-formal and adult education. System approach in education can prove an effective means for designing, means when we are designing a curriculum for the non-formal education system and adult education system, controlling and improving the systems. How can we improve the whole system of non-formal and adult education? These can be improved only through the basis of use of system approach in education. Improvement in quality of education. As we all know that system approach will help us to know the problem solving approach, a method of analyzing the educational process and making it effective. So when we are saying that the system approach is related to that, then automatically there will be a improvement in quality or improvement in education. It has full potential to provide effective control to the process and product of education by solving the various problems related to education. Thus, the main use of system approach in education is to improve the quality of education. So, what we are saying that this is the main purpose of system approach. Now, what is the main purpose of system approach? To improve the quality of education. How to improve? How to bring quality in education system. Now, role of teacher in edu system approach. What is the role? Is a role of a teacher specific in system approach? The first one is assessment and input. Now, the teacher can assess, evaluate that this input is sufficient or not. Data collection. The teacher can collect data related to that particular problem. Alternatives. What are the different alternatives available? Analyzing objectives. Whether the objective which have been framed by me are correct or should be modified. Discussions. Various discussions can be held. Activations, feedback data. On the basis of system approach, I will get some feedback data. Assessment, I can improve my evaluation system also. Now, problems of difficulties in implementing system approach in education. What are the problems or difficulties I can face as a teacher when I am implementing system approach in education? Now, first one is difficulty in saying goodbye to old methods. Now, what we are saying that it is very difficult for a teacher to say goodbye to the old methods. That Time consuming, they can think that the system approach is a very time consuming process. Hard work means what it required a lot of hard work from the side of a teacher. Not suitable from all problems means all the curriculum cannot be taught with the help of system approach. Now, conclusion, in spite of certain difficulties and limitations, it provides opportunity to modify and improve the education system. What they are saying, that as an individual, I can say that there are different limitations and difficulties in implementing the system approach. But we cannot, but what we are saying that the system approach is providing what opportunities to the curriculum makers, to the teachers, to modify, to change and improve, to bring improvement in what, in the education system as best as possible in the light of the evaluation of the outcomes in relation to input, what can be, what input can be used, process, how the process can be improved, environment constant and stipulated objective. Thus, system approach has full potentiality to provide effective control to the process and product of education by solving the various problems related to it. Now, references. These are some in this particular topic we have understood that system approach is a problem solving method for analyzing the educational process at different stages. Now, for further readings on that topic, you can refer these particular references. Now let us discuss some MCQs based on the topic which we have discussed today. As MCQs are the best tool to increase the most important educational outcomes, to measure the educational outcomes, whether I have achieved that outcomes or not, whether I have achieved my objectives or not. The first one, the dash as an approach which aims at finding the most efficient and economically cost effective method for solving educational programs scientifically. Now, these are the options. The first one is system approach, second is behavioral approach, C is textual approach, and D is all the given above given choices. Now, what will be the correct answer? The correct answer will be A. What we are saying that system approach is a approach which aims at finding the most efficient, means the best method which can be applied for solving educational problems, and it should be scientifically, means all the educational problems will be solved scientifically, means in a systematic manner. Now, the system approach provides a framework for all the factors that influence the solution of the dash problems. Now, what is that? The system approach provides a framework for all the factors. Now, all the factors, it can be the curriculum, it can be the evaluation system, it can be the teaching learning process that influence the solution of dash problem. The first one is educational, B is moving, C is training, or D is learning. Which will be the correct answer, students? The first answer means the solution of educational problems. The third one, dash approach focuses on the student and the performance required by him or her. Now, options are A, system, B, learning, C, teaching, D is instruction. So the correct answer is A. System approach focuses on the students, means the all the focus of the teaching learning process is on the student and the performance required by him. The fourth one, in the teaching learning process, the system approach takes into consideration all available dash resources. A option is learning, B instruction, C teaching, D training. Now the correct answer is student is A, all available learning resources. Means system approach takes into consideration all available learning resources which are available for a teacher during the teaching learning process. The specific instructional objective are stated in terms of observable and measurable terminal behavior. Now, what are they? Instructional learning objectives or none of the given choices? The answer is A, means the specific instructional objectives are needed. Annual school examination can be termed dash test, terminal, fixed, later, or proper. The correct answer is A, means terminal test. The main use of system approach in education is to improve the dash of education. Now, what is that? Options: A, quality; B, direction; C, objective; D, learning. Now, what is the correct option? That the system approach in education is to improve the quality of education. Eighth one, the selection of methods and media may vary according to the type of quality, direction, objectives, and learning. The correct answer is objective. Means as a teacher, my objectives can vary, and according to that, the framing of objective, the construction of the objective, I can select any method and media. Now, main objective of me will be what? To achieve those objectives. The methods and the appropriate media have therefore to be selected, keeping in mind the nature of the dash discipline, fixed, size, decided. Means what they are saying, the method and the appropriate media. Which method should be adopted by me? Which teaching aid should be used by me? Therefore, has to be selected, keeping in mind the nature of what? Discipline, fixed, size, or D, decided. The correct answer is discipline. Now the last question. The dash of the group of students in a class also determine the selection of suitable techniques and alternatives. Now what they are saying, the dash of group of students in a class, they whether they will also play an important role in determining or the selection of that particular techniques or alternatives available. Now the correct answer will be C, means the size of the group of student. What is the size of a group of student also help in determining the selection of suitable techniques and alternatives available. Now, thank you, students. Student, with this particular narration, you understand that this is system approach. This is the role of a teacher in implementing the system approach and the stages of system approach. Now, so in the next lecture, we will focus on different methods or techniques of implementing curriculum. Thank you so much.